A special thank you again to Troop 768 for representing the community of Ramona tonight. Now it is my pleasure to welcome County Supervisor Joel Anderson to the podium.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you all for being here. You know, unfortunately, my district burns the most every year. I moved into my home in Alpine Prairie 7 years ago, and within the first 30 days, I had my first evacuation. So, thank God we've never lost anything, but some of my neighbors have, and certainly many of my neighbors in Ramona have lost a lot over the years. I represented you in the state legislature, and in my Senate district during the Cedar Fire, we lost over 2,000 homes, and it was brutal, very brutal. So this stuff means a lot to me, and I'm happy that you're here. We're FaceTiming live this, or Facebooking live, thank you. When you go to my Facebook, that's the man that does it. I've never been on my Facebook, so I'm just saying, he's old and pushes it out. Yeah, and he's much younger than I am. So with that, I just want to say a couple quick things. We are very, very blessed because we've got tremendous public safety here in East County, in throughout County. Our Sheriff Martinez does an incredible job. Our Fire Chief Mecham does an incredible job for us. It's under his leadership that we have one helicopter, a helicopter that can fight fire at night. He has that capacity, which is huge to us, and he's working on getting a second copter for us. And then we've got great partners like SDGE. I know that many people are very angry. My car has been shut off more than one occasion, but it's like when I had a business located near Miramar, and every time the jets flew over, I had to stop my phone conversation because nobody could hear me. I knew that was the sound of freedom. I know when I get my power shut off, it's saving my house and my family from fire. So I want to thank Joe. There you are, Joe. With that, can I have SDGE's certificate or prop? So this is Fire Awareness Week, and I wanted to present this to SDGE, and Joe is their representative. He's done an incredible job. I've known him for, 30 years, and he hasn't aged one bit. But at the bottom, let me just, hold on, I have a cheat sheet. It's the last paragraph printed in adult size. Be it proclaimed that I, Joel Anderson, by virtue and authority vested in me in the 2nd District Supervisor of San Diego County of San Diego, do hereby proclaim this week of October 5th through the 11th, 2025, as Fire Prevention Week, to recognize the outstanding dedication contributions that protect our communities and promote fire safety throughout San Diego County. I just want to thank you for being such an incredible partner in putting this together. They helped underwrite all of this, and they helped promote it. Joe, you do such a great job, and I'm so proud to call you my friend. Thank you. Joe, before you take off, nobody told me, are we doing photos now, or are we doing photos later?
We do now.
Okay, come on down. Here, let me do it this way.
Scoot forward, Stu, not as light. Scoot forward. Yeah, there we go. Lean forward.
All right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Chief Mecham, you don't get off so easy. You know what? Your firefighters, all the men that work for you, and I appreciate your leadership, but all the men that work for you have been in our community time and time again to help rescue people, to save people's lives and save all that they own in this world. So I wanted to present this proclamation to you. I'm not going to read the last line because it's very similar. In fact, it's identical to the previous one. But I thought we could do a quick photo, and thank you. Hey, thank you very much. Sheriff Martinez, come on up. I have one for you too. I'm going to do a a little bit more. So when I first got elected, I don't know if you all remember, we had over 200 illegal pot shops throughout my district, whether it was Spring Valley, El Cajon, or Ramona. We only have 5 legal pot shops throughout Diego County, but we had over 200 in my district. And I went to the sheriff and I said, we can't live like this. You know, they're illegal. They sold in Gabaldon. They had people that they were paying to spin signs on the street to generate business. And so I just want to tell you how much I appreciate. Not only did you shut them down, but you shut some of them down 3 and 4 times. And I don't want to get into all the details, but we just recently had a press conference, and all this work, and I'm going to let you speak to it. I don't remember the details, but it was a lot of illegal drugs that are opioids and others that are impacting our families. And let's do our quick photo, and then I'm going to turn the mic over to you.
Awesome, you guys.
Sheriff, thank you again, not only helping us put out illicit drugs in our community, but all the things that you do for our community. You know, frequently, the firefighters are on the front lines fighting the fire. It's the sheriffs that knock on our doors and make sure that boneheads like me don't stick in their home when we've been told to leave. So thank you so much for your great service. I'll take this for you, and I'm eager to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, thank you. And Joel is humble in his efforts and his collaboration with us on the drug fighting effort. He was the first one to step up and provide me resources to do that marijuana enforcement. We built a marijuana enforcement team that did eradicate all of the illicit dispensaries in the county of San Diego. So thank you, Joel. And he's also one man on the board who championed us with the fentanyl epidemic in our county. He gave us $500,000 for one gap that we identified in our fentanyl fight, and that was we didn't have money to purchase evidence, to pay for information, to do all of that work, pay overtime. And with that $500,000 investment, we brought over $20 million in drugs off the street. So again, thank you. So tonight's event is really phenomenal. It's great that this was organized by the supervisor and by SDGE. Thank you for your sponsorship and bringing us all together. The collaboration in this county is phenomenal related to the wildland fire response. There's nowhere else in the state that has the same type of coordination and communication and collaboration that we have. To my fire partners, Chief Mecham, and all of his team, CalFire, County Fire, we couldn't do it without them. Sheriff's deputies, as Supervisor Anderson said, are the ones who are knocking on your door with those evacuation notices. But we've improved that through many apps and many other ways that we can notify you that you need to evacuate or that there's an emerging threat in your area. Nobody knows this better than Ramona residents, right? So I have a home in Fallbrook, and I've experienced it firsthand as well with my home up there and fire coming a little bit too close in the 07 fires. Working long shifts and hours in 07. The 03 fires were super impactful for us as an organization, and then the Bernardo fires after that. So we've gotten much better in this county. Astria has partnered, my air fleet has partnered with CalFire, and that was a lot of fight, 20 years ago or something, Chief? Yeah, about 20 years ago, we partnered with CalFire on a better response to wildland fires in the county, and that was by enabling some fire air fleet in this jurisdiction and using CalFire as our partners in those helicopters, and we're able to do not only waste rescues, but last year we responded to over 300 fires and did 1,400 water drops that saved property and lives in this county. And those fires are put out when they're small, so they don't get bigger, and that's really important. So next up, I'd like to introduce Chief Mecham. He's going to talk to you about the fire piece.
Thank you, Sheriff. And I've said many times, I think we have the finest wildland firefighting law enforcement agency here with my partners from the Sheriff's Department. So I want to thank everybody for being here tonight and keeping fire at the forefront of our conversation. You know, we used to talk about fire season, now we talk about a fire year and remain ever vigilant with that. But I think one of the key things that I want to stress is that we get the folks in uniform, they always look to, hey, the fire department does all this, but it really takes an entire community when we talk about wildfire safety. Certainly, the sheriff tonight is going to talk about their role and how we work together. But I think it's also our community groups. 211 is here. 211 is our partner. You know, how do we get information out to hundreds of thousands of people when we're impacted by fires? How do we feed and clothe and house people that are evacuated or shelters, and some of our neediest people? And Sean's here from the Red Cross tonight. We have our CERT team in the back that focuses within our communities, talking about emergency preparedness, not only for a wildfire, but the things that we do to prepare for a wildfire are going to prepare us for earthquakes and other natural disasters. You know, San Diego Gas and Electric, I'm probably partial because I've had an opportunity to work with these people for many, many years, but when it comes to fire safety, their commitment is unparalleled. We talk regularly, we talk routinely. We have an MOU. We manage their contract firefighting helicopter fleet here, which is very unique when we look across California. And so we're entering into the fall season this year, and we've got maybe a little bit of rain coming in this weekend. But the long-range forecast for the next 120 days is for it to be drier than normal and still above average fire conditions. And one of the biggest predictors that we have is we look at our fuel moistures. That's the amount of moisture that's contained in both the live and the dead plants. We are well below critical. In our world, when those thresholds hit 66%, we're at critical fire behavior. In some parts of the county, we have dipped into the 40s, which is where we were in January. You saw what happened in January. So as long as the weather stays mild like this, we may get out of this year unscathed, but it just takes one wind event and we're going to be off to the races with the potential. And on those bad fire days when we have an ignition, and if you take nothing else from what I'm going to talk about for the next 3 or 4 minutes, is this. When a wildfire burns under a wind conditions, our one and only priority is life safety. And that includes the life safety of our firefighters. And I need to be really clear on this. And I tell people all the time, if you don't care enough ahead of the fire to take care of your property and protect your property, I'm willing to ask sheriff's deputies and firefighters to risk their life to make sure that nobody's else. But we are not going to stay at the home and needlessly burn and kill firefighters to protect property. And so everything that we do when we have hundreds of structures that are threatened and we don't have hundreds of fire engines in the first couple hours, is they are going to go through and they are going to look at those homes that give us the most opportunity to defend those homes and then to undertake tactical operations. And a lot of that has to come with the work that you're going to do. Go to the first slide. And so we really need to focus on this Get Ready, Get Set, Go. The Ready, Set, Go program. This has been adopted across the state of California. I think it's something really, really easy to remember. So I'm going to talk first about getting ready. And the number one thing you can do, next slide, is perform your defensible space. That is the number one thing that you can do to give your property a fighting chance. And what you're really doing is you're reducing that fuel load as the fire gets onto near the home. Not only is that going to reduce the radiant heat, the direct flame impingement, but more importantly, those embers, which I'll talk about in a minute. California passed historic legislation last year, which we still have not fully figured out how we're going to implement that. How many of you have heard of Zone Zero? Okay, Zone Zero is that area approximately 5 feet from your house. The National Institute of Standards and Testing has done extensive testing, and by keeping that clear, reduces the probability of your home igniting by about 80%. That is a very, very substantial number. But this is going to be a very wholehearted cultural shift for people to say, hey, you can no longer plant trees and bushes and things right up against your house. I know even for me, I live in Temecula. Even in my home, you know, that having that conversation with my wife is not going to be a popular conversation when I tell her, hey, sweetheart, we gotta start trimming this stuff back that's growing right up against our house. We have about a 3-year window before we'll start enforcement, so we're really trying to educate and get things out. But we break it into first. The first is that Zone Zero, that's the 5 foot. The second one, go to the next slide for me. So Zone Zero, got all this, but no plants, no nothing within your home. It's basically gravel, pavers, or concrete around your home. And that includes, you know, wicker furniture, that is everything, anything that can burn around your home. Earlier this year, we did a pre-fire season event at our training center, and we have a building that looks like this and only has wood chips. The only thing here is wood chips. We ignite the wood chips with a fan on it simulating weather, and just a little tiny, 1-inch square wood chips will ignite the house. And then you put the gravel around it under those same conditions, and the house 5 feet next to it, these little mini houses we build survive. So zone 0 is critically important, nothing around your homes. The second zone that we look at is zone 1, and that is from 5 to 50 feet out from your building, and that is maintaining your decks. If you have a patio cover, especially if you're on the side of a hill or slope, that you keep underneath that clean. This is not taking things down to necessarily bare minimal soil, but reducing all dead, dying, diseased, anything that's dead within that 50-foot zone, reducing the fuel loading, make sure that you're limiting up your trees, your tree branches are not within 10 feet of your roof, that your tree branches aren't overhanging a chimney. And then zone 2, which is 50 to 100 feet out. And what we like to see there, if you have grass fields, that grass is mowed to about no more than 4 inches in height. Obviously, if you have trees there, make sure that the trees are limbed up about 10 feet off of the ground, and you're just kind of slowly reducing the amount of fuel within the home. So. The next thing is home hardening. About 80% of all homes do not burn down when the main fire front passes through. They burn through after, right? And so a lot of people think that first initial, that big wave that comes through is what catches them. But what catches most of the homes on fire is the embers that stick around, the embers that sit in those wood chip piles, and most importantly, the embers that get into your attic. I don't know that a lot of people recognize most homes that burn down on a wildfire actually burn from the inside out. We get embers into the attic catches on fire, it's smoky out. We're working in the smoke, so initially we don't see the smoke protruding from the home until it's usually too late when fire is blowing out of the attic, and at that point, there's very little we can do to save your home. So direct flames, we saw this. I had an opportunity. I spent 7 weeks in Los Angeles up on the Eaton fire. Certainly in a more urban area, we saw home fire spread, direct flame impingement from one home to the next. But the radiant heat, and then the big one that hits us is the embers, especially when you combine that with the winds. So what can you do? The first is ember resistant vents. Okay, make sure that you have the screen mesh, that all of your vents are covered. The one in the upper left is small vents. The one on the right is the actual ember resistant vents. Every home is different because the vents have to be sized, but some insurance companies will give you a discount for that. Normal price would be $2,500 to $3,000 to retrofit your home. We do require that in all new construction now. Dual pane windows, again, just that second layer of glass will keep that heat from penetrating the window and igniting things on the inside of the structure. And then the siding that is on your home, making sure that your siding is fire resistant. Eaves. What a boxed in eave, right, is you have the eaves that come underneath it. What happens is embers get caught up in there. And so we box those eaves out, basically create that flat surface where there isn't nooks and crannies around the eaves around the home, where those firebrands and embers won't get caught up and then start the roof on fire. Decks are something we really look at. Composite materials, kind of the fake wood is much better than real wood. And then if you have a deck, more critical to that is what is underneath it. So if you have grass or you have vegetation and leaves and those things that have accumulated underneath your deck, again, oftentimes fire, the embers will get underneath the deck. A fire starts burning the underside of the deck, and then by the time we see it and we're aware of it, that fire is already extended into the house. And then a non-combustible roof. So that is the part about being ready, and that is all of the stuff that you should do really year-round to maintain your home. And I go back, and when I thought of firefighters all the time, look, if people can't take 8, 10, 12 hours out of an entire year to clean around their property, why are we going to go in there and overly risk ourselves? Our job is dangerous enough. We're just asking you to be our partners and doing that little bit of clearance. Our firefighters will be as aggressive as anybody when their safety is there. Believe it or not, that 100-foot clearance gives a significant margin of safety for our folks to work in. So the next is get set, and that means we have to be ready to go. Have an action plan. Talk about what you're going to do, and I'm not going to steal the sheriff's thunder with evacuation, but talk about what you're going to do ahead of time. whether it's just a home fire safety, you have a fire in your home in the middle of the night, what are multiple escape routes out of your home, where are you all going to meet and assemble, and then where are you gonna go? If you have animals, pre-plan that. I'm a dog guy. I'm not going anywhere without taking my dogs with me, right? So we think about those things when we have everything packed for our animals. We're packed and ready to go. Have a plan not only for you, but family members. Make sure your family knows, hey, where am I gonna go? How are you gonna get in touch with me? If, when the cell towers go down and we lose communications, those types of things. Have a go bag. And this is just everything that you're gonna need we tell everybody to be prepared to leave for 3 days. Something that we've worked really well with the Sheriff's Department on is repopulating these communities much quicker than we ever did. So you have our commitment. I know I speak for the Sheriff that we're gonna get you back as quick as we possibly can, but initially you need to be prepared to leave for 3 days, and that makes sure you have your important documents, credit cards, medication, a little bit of cash, whatever you need to operate. Be ready to go. Have those momentums. If you don't have a fire safe at home, what pictures, what documents are taking. Because when there's smoke in the sky and the sheriff's deputies are driving through your neighborhood and telling you go, you don't have much time to get everything together. So again, take the time and decide ahead of time, what are we taking for us when we get asked to go, so plan ahead. And then here's some information that you can go to. One of the great sites is Pulse Point. It's an app that you can get on your phone. It was intended to notify you of a CPR call and tell you where the AED, but you can get on the Pulse Point. We post all of our dispatches there, so you can actually set it to alert for a wildfire, and you'll actually get a little notice on your phone every time you dispatch a wildfire anywhere in the county. I know the Sheriff's going to talk about registering for Genesis and Alert San Diego. Some social media sites that you can get to. All of our departments go put a lot of effort in when we have an incident with keeping information posted. And then the final set is when we ask you to go. And again, the sheriff is going to cover it, but it's really important to understand the distinction between the evacuation order and the evacuation warning. But what I really want to kind of close on and focus on, Sheriff, is you notice here at the tailboard of the vehicle, there's a sheriff's deputy there and there's a firefighter there. One of the things that we've been doing in San Diego, they just released the LA after action on their evacuations, and they have some things they need to work on. One of the first things we do here is we go unified command with the Sheriff's Department. So a sheriff's deputy, usually a sergeant, or eventually we get a lieutenant out there, they stand at the back of our pickup with our fire ground commanders, and we are giving them real-time intelligence as to what is going on with the fire. Hey, fire just crossed this road. We need to start pushing evacuation orders in this community, and I think in 2-3 hours, the fire is going to be here. Let's issue warnings. So we are seamless, and I would say probably within no more than the first 15 minutes of any wildland fire burning in San Diego, you'll see the Sheriff's Department and CalFire standing side by side at the back of a pickup coordinating the evacuations. We stay together throughout the incident. We unify in the beginning, we go through the evacuations, and the sheriff stays with us right till the end when we repopulate, and then they also stay present in those things. That does not go on in every county in California, but I think we do it really, really well here. And then probably the greatest place I can tell you to go is visit CalFire's website, readyforwildfire.org. Everything I've talked about and a lot more is there. And then I'll just close that, our fire stations are your fire stations. If you have questions, if you have needs, call us, call our main desk. You can reach us on email, you can reach us on our social media accounts, or just stop by your neighborhood fire station, and they would be glad to come out and talk to you about anything. And I'll certainly be here at the end, so I'm turn it back to you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Chief Mecham, for a wonderful presentation. Next, I would like to welcome Captain Mickey Boy and Lieutenant Roller from the San Diego County Sheriff's Department to begin their presentation on fire safety and evacuation preparedness. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lieutenant Roller. I'm the station commander up here in Ramona.
one thing I'd like to take away from our presentation today especially is have a plan. That's probably the main thing you're going to hear through a lot of our presentations is have a plan for when this is happening and be ready. All right, why it matters. Fire spreads in minutes, not hours. Your plans and your preparation will save lives and property. And people say, as Chief Mitchell was talking, the sheriff's role is to protect, guide, and support the community. So we're there to pretty much guide you out, and when it's over, the repopulation will be guiding you back in. Next slide. All right. Obviously, up in here in Ramona, it's a big deal of knowing 2 or 3 ways in and out. So up here we have 67, 78 Wildcat, but every community is going to be different. The reason you want all these ways in and out is you don't know where the fire exactly is going to start, where the embers are going to blow. So have a plan and know the ways of egress. Have a pre-planned location where your family and friends can go. Have a generator, food, radio on hand, maybe a handheld crank one. Be prepared to leave before you have to be told. That's a big one. When these warnings come out, take them seriously. Collaboration with the community and first responders is essential. We will be talking to you, we will be putting things out. Obviously, mutual aid and hospital alerts. These are all things we're going to do for you, telling you where to go, how to get there. All right, definitions. Next, we're going to go over some of the things the Chief talked about. And advisories. These will inform you that there's an incident in the area. It could be a threat to life or property if it worsens. Pay attention to these advisories, because they can change into warnings quickly. So this is a potential threat to life or property. This is usually 2 hours plus out. However, based on winds, warnings can change into orders, and I'm not joking, in minutes. You get 50-mile-an-hour winds, starts picking up embers, the fire's going to start jumping. These are going to change. The fire chiefs or the fire personnel at CalFire is going to let us know what's a warning and when that becomes an order. Obviously, an order is less than 2 hours. This means it's now. This is where we're going to be out there with our sirens, the high-low, which you hear a little bit later on, ordering you out. We will knock on your doors. We will tell you to leave. We're not going to force you to leave, but we will not be coming back. Shelter in place. This is the last line of defense for us. This means that it is more dangerous to put you on the road than it is to stay in your homes. That means fire might be crossing one of the roads. It would be dangerous for you and your family and your animals to leave. Road closures. This is where everyone gets all inked up. Hard closures. Closing everyone except fire, law, and media. I know everyone gets up on that one. Soft closures. They're pretty much going to be fire, law, media, ag pass holders, which we'll talk about in a minute, and critical incident resources such as SDGE, county roads, and occasionally residents. And I'll touch that in a minute. Next. Resident-only closures. This is pretty much going to be a soft closure when we deem it okay for residents of that community to go into their own areas. This is going to be up to the incident commander when it'll be a resident only. The incident commander is going to be the sheriff's person partnered up with fire, then they agree to let residents in. It's not always. Media access. Yes, under 409.5D, media does have access to a fire. It is, until it becomes a crime scene, they can enter a fire. That doesn't mean they can go on private property, but that means they can go on the roads and take their pictures. Ag Pass. This is probably one of the most controversial things where people have a lot of questions. Ag Pass is for commercial farming, agriculture, and livestock. It's not just you have a few horses. And these kids can only go in a soft closure. And these people have a card. They're pre-approved, pre-screened. To my knowledge, there's only about 75 in the county. So as you can see, they can go back into the fire on the soft closure with permission of the incident commander to tend to their animals and their crops. They cannot do firefighting work. That's what they're not going in there to start hosing down their house, their stuff. It's to take care of the animals and the crops. Here's pretty much how it's gonna work. You have a disaster strike, an evacuation order comes out and becomes a hard closure. After that passes and we enter into a soft closure, and the incident commander needs it okay for an ag pass holder to go in, they will be notified that they can now come back in. These ag pass holders will drive up to the checkpoint, which will be CHP, sheriff, or another agency. They'll show their ag pass, which they can now go enter and tend to their crops. It is limited to daylight hours only. All right, public alerts and warning. Next slide is quick. All right. Sheriff's Department has a high-low, I guess it's a siren on their vehicles. It sounds very similar to the European patrol cars. We do not pull people over with this. This is for an emergency only. It's the evacuation sound. Go ahead and play.
Patrol cars in San Diego County are now equipped with the high-low. This unique sound is different from sirens you hear when deputies and officers respond to emergency calls. High-low quickly alerts entire neighborhoods that they are in immediate danger. This warning system will be used during wildfires, flash floods, earthquakes, and other natural disasters, or critical incidents requiring the evacuation of a particular area. When you hear this sound, you must evacuate immediately. To receive evacuation notifications during an emergency, register your cell phone with Alert San Diego and Accessible Alert San Diego at alertsd.org. Follow your local law enforcement and fire agency on social media or stay up to date by watching the news. Remember, when you hear the high-low, it is time to go.
You can all agree it's a pretty distinct sound, so when you hear it, yes, it is time to go. There we go. All right. We discussed on Alert San Diego. It's one of the apps we use, and we have the wireless alert, emergency alerts. A lot of people here, especially up in this part of the community, have Watch TV, right? Yeah. And Pulse Point, which we talked about. We don't endorse the other apps because we can't control them. We can't control the information going out on them. We have a program called Genesis, which Captain McElroy will be discussing here in a minute. That's one we like to talk about, and I will pass it off to him.
Good evening. I'm Captain Pat McElroy. I currently oversee our emergency services division, which has the air support, aerial firefighting, in addition to our emergency planning detail, who are pushing out the Genesis when you get those evacuation notices. That's the deputies and sergeants on my team are the ones facilitating all that. And our role is also to assist the incident commander and fire to be successful. The first thing I'm talking about, we've talked about the other apps, is the Genesis Protect app. The QR is up there. If you can take a moment, we encourage everyone to get onto this app, put it on your phone. This is what's going to allow you to view in real time the evacuation zones, to include where there's warning orders and everything around pertaining to the fire. And it gives you all the updates, evacuation routes, shelters, where the road closures are, and we're constantly updating this site. Here's an example of what it looks like on your app. So big screen for older ones like us, big screens are good, but iPad works great too. These are all the zones. It's just an example. This is downtown Ramona right here, and we break it down into individual zones. The SDC stands for San Diego County, and then we base it on roadways, population density, things such as that. And we can split these as well. If you look up your app right now, it's going to show something like this where it's normal, which means there's no evacuations, there's no warnings, anything like that going on. So when we do start putting out notifications, one, you'll get a notification on your phone, and it's going to start color coding. An evacuation order zone is going to be red, and then a warning is going to be in yellow. A good rule that we do, so a lot of times people will get evacuation warnings when they're nowhere near the fire, but what we generally try to do is predict the route of the fire, and with the input from the fire command, and they're giving us real-time intelligence like Chief Mecham was talking about, and we'll forecast based on wind speed, fuel, things such as that, where's the fire gonna go? And we'll start pushing out those evacuation orders for areas in that fire's path. And the general rule we follow is we'll put yellow around the entire fire. So if you get evacuation warning, you might be upwind from the fire, but you're still getting it. That's just because your next zone probably has an evacuation order in. But like Lieutenant Roller was saying, and so is the chief, if you get evacuation warning, it's probably a good idea just to start packing your stuff and planning on getting out, if not getting out, because traffic is going to be impacted, especially in a community such as Ramona with very few points of ingress, egress. And in the text here, you'll see it says leave immediately. It'll tell you the reason, and exactly things that are going on. So you can also enter your home address, because what Genesis is going to do, it's going to ping off your phone where the nearest cell tower. So if you're in a fire evacuation warning or evacuation order area, you're going to get alerted. That doesn't help you if you're working in downtown San Diego and your home's going to be being affected. So you can enter different addresses in this and save them. Example I have is I have my home, I have all my kids' schools, I have my work. Additionally, I have some San Diego County critical infrastructure areas. So if any of those areas get impacted by the evacuation warnings or orders, I'm alerted in advance. So we encourage you to put addresses that are important to you and relevant to you into those. If you have loved ones, family, anything such as that. We'll talk about temporary evacuations and shelters. Next slide. So temporary evacuation point, we will do this in partnership with CalFire. For one, we're not going to put you down into a fire, but we will establish what's called a temporary evacuation point. If we're going to do evacuation orders, we're not just going to expect you to figure it out. A lot of people do have a plan, and we do encourage you to have a plan for somewhere to go. However, certain critical events, the area you're planning on going may already be impacted by it, and it's not an option anymore. So we'll set up these temporary evacuation points. It's just a rally point. It's somewhere, when we tell you to leave, it's somewhere you can go that's safe. We'll notify the Red Cross. The Red Cross is excellent. They're a great partner with responding. They'll come out, set up a shelter point. They'll bring in food, things such as that. Just one of those things is occasionally the wind shifts, so there's a possibility something was an evacuation point 10 minutes later is now in the path of the fire if the wind moves. So sometimes we will have to move those, but typically we try and put them far enough away to where it's not an issue with fire. Back up one, sorry. And one thing I do want to say, we're also aware that when we give an evacuation order and we tell you to pack up your stuff, you're putting all your valuables in your vehicles, everything that's important to you, your world's going in that car, right? When we set up a temporary evacuation point, we will send a sheriff's deputy or deputies to that site to protect it and offer scene security. But just please don't be complacent. Lock up your, if you step out of your car, check in with Red Cross, lock your car, certain just basic crime prevention tips, because unfortunately there's a lot of criminal predators out there that are paying attention to this. The same people that like to loot are the same people that pay attention to where we send people, because they know where the cars are with valuables. So lock your valuables in your car, be aware of it, pay attention to your surroundings, and we will do our best we can and send sheriff's deputies there to protect your assets as well. Drones. We're going to talk about drones because this is I'm going to use the term, it's an emerging threat in our area, specifically with fires. The next slide. So it is illegal to fly a private drone around a fire, period. If we find a private drone operator operating and we can locate them, we are going to take enforcement action on it. It's detrimental to our aerial firefighting assets. The way it operates, because we'll get fixed wing from CalFire dropping, we'll have our Sheriff's Astra dropping water, we'll have CalFire airships dropping fire. As soon as anybody sees a drone, the protocol is to ground all aircraft. We cannot do aerial firefighting if there's a drone in the sky. That includes law enforcement drones. If a law enforcement officer has to fly a drone for any reason, they're going to communicate with us. Typically, we're just going to deny that request as well. So it's everyone has, a lot of people have these private drones now. Please, and spread that around. Do not fly a drone during a fire because it causes significant problems. There's Palisades, there's a news report of a a fixed-wing aircraft that got struck by a drone.
It's extremely dangerous to fly a drone while aerial firefighting operations are in effect. It creates an additional hazard that could bring the aircraft down or damage the aircraft significantly.
If you're flying, we cannot. That means that we cannot drop water and suppress the fire. Having that drone in the area, we would have to move out of the area. That will suspend all flight operations over the fire until that drone is grounded.
Copter 10, this is Copter 11. I just had a near miss with an orange and black drone. It's just out from the water source, probably 25 feet off the ground. We need to clear the area and suspend operations.
Just because you see a fire and you don't see any firefighting aircraft on that mission at the time, that doesn't mean that we aren't there.
50 Disaster 1. I need you to contact a drone operator at the corner of Main and 2nd. I need him to land the drone immediately so we can resume firefighting operations.
We may be low level, drawing water from a body of water nearby to drop the water. If you see any type of fire or major incident, do not fly your drone near that incident. We are likely on scene or will be on scene very shortly. There are several resources that a drone operator can use to check if there's aircraft in the area. Flight Radar 24, that will show if aircraft is flying in the area before you fly. There's another drone website from the FAA,
CalFire, social media, San Diego Sheriff, social media, follow that, get live updates. That's a great way to stay tuned on what's going on. Please ground your drone during an emergency so we can work safely. If you're flying, we cannot.
Okay, so our call to action for you, stay connected. Use as many media platforms as possible. Redundancy is okay, they're overlapping. Genesis Protect is what the Sheriff's Office highly advocates for, because that's where you get the real updates and where exactly is being evacuated. So that is really, if there's any points taken away from here, is subscribe to the app and don't fly drones. That's it.
Thank you both for a wonderful presentation. I would like to take this moment to ask if anyone has any questions for our CalFire or Sheriff's Department representatives today.
We had a very good presentation by CalFire, and I want to respect the fact that since 2003 and 2007, that all the agencies have worked together to have one solid team instead of protecting their own, and it's worked well in San Diego County, especially with the helicopters. My question is, we were talking about home hardening, and in California, they passed a law where if you do home hardening per FireWise, and you get recognition, not certification, per FireWise, you can actually get an insurance discount. How come we're not promoting FireWise? I actually started FireWise in San Diego Country Estates and Verona Mesa and Four Corners, and we're in the recognition process right now. But other than Crest and a few other places, San Diego's void of that, and we're promoting a program that's the same as FireWise, but doesn't give you the insurance discounts.
So great question. State of California now is leading the nation in terms of FireWise. This has been embraced by CalFire. So we have right now, last count, 37 separate fire safe councils in San Diego. We are meeting with all 37 of those fire safe councils, which are really our kind of community outreach groups. They all have what's called you're probably familiar, a CWPP, or a Community Wildfire Protection Plan. As part of their CWPP now, we are putting in all of the FireWise requirements. It's been a little slow to get going, but I would say you're going to see a significantly number more FireWise communities in the next year.
Are we gonna follow up?
Well, in what sense? I mean, we'll follow up through the fire safe councils and then track the number of FireWise.
The follow-up is, are we gonna lean more towards FireWise, which is a nonprofit organization that promotes home hardening and has the same parameters that you shared during your presentation, but gives you the added benefit of an insurance discount when you're recognized by FireWise NFPA?
Yeah, so I guess I would answer that with the yes and a no. In terms of, we can only enforce what is in the law, and because the Firewise guidelines are not, within the regulatory and the public resources of the health and safety code. So it's, from that standpoint, defensible space and those types of things will continue to enforce. Firewise is a voluntary program, as is the Fire Safe Councils and the CWPD. So we will continue to push the messaging and try and get everybody, if you're going to do the work anyway through fuels reduction, to get that Firewise thing. And I think it is a good program that we do need to push more, but I don't have any way to require a committee to do it other than to strongly urge them to do it.
Thank you, and I appreciate your time and all your efforts that you do to protect our neighborhoods. I encourage you to broadcast more about Firewise because it's a very good program, and not too many people know about it.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Firewise is fantastic.
Let's go right here.
Hi, actually, I have a question for our SDGE representative.
I'm so sorry. Can we just hold those questions until after the presentation if possible?
Sure.
Yeah, we will have more time for questions at the end for that as well. Let's go here.
You're on? Yeah. Oh, you're gonna hold it? Okay. Yes, this is about encampments. And I noticed, I think there was an ordinance that was passed early in the year, like depending on what the weather conditions are, dry, wind speeds and relative humidity. If it was low, then you have the authority to go clean up encampments. But for the past year and a half, I've been watching on watch duty. A lot of these encampment fires, many of them are happening during cool weather, high humidity, and not many winds. Yet, I don't think you're allowed to clean them up. So I was wondering why, it's illegal to have an encampment anyway, so why aren't those being cleaned up all the time, I guess?
Here we go. Yeah, thanks for that question. We do actively work the encampments all the time. I know that in Lakeside, we've been doing a great job with the encampments over there in Santee. It's a difficult problem moving those folks out of those encampments. The county ordinance isn't the only tool we have, but if you see an encampment or you have a concern, I hope that you'll be talking to the sheriff's deputies in this area. We are going to be putting on our website, show the activity that we're doing around each of the encampments. You'll have pretty much real-time data about the last time deputies were there, what enforcement action they took, how big the encampment was, those types of things. So I think that'll bring a little bit more information to our communities related to the encampments, but I appreciate the concern.
Because I heard, there's a lot of fire issues from them too.
There have been. We've reduced them in some of the communities, but yeah, they're lighting fires to stay warm, right? And so that's the issue. It's not just the high fire season when that's happening, it's during the cool nights and things like that, for sure.
If I may, we actually didn't have an ordinance till this year. It was my board letter that created that ordinance. And it took 9 months of research by the county to bring enough evidence forward. I had to explain, everybody on my board lives in a coastal community, except for me. I'm the only one that lives in the unincorporated. I'm the only one that's lived through a fire. I'm the only one that's been evacuated. And they were worried about how I was being mean to the homeless. And I said, well, we're not talking about people in downtown San Diego starting a fire. We're talking about a grassland, and I used the example of the Cedar Fire. If you all remember, in 2003, it was 2 hunters who got lost, who created a signal fire, and they got out of control. And 6 people, I believe, died in their vehicles trying to flee because it was moving so rapidly. And I said, how can we possibly have homeless people start a fire that they can't outrun? I don't want anybody to be burned alive. But it was a clash between people who live west of 15 or east of I-15. So I just want to, so the sheriff was really hamstrung on what they could do, although they were very active in the riverbed through Santee Lakeside. So now I'm hoping that we have more tools to operate, and Chief Mecham can speak to this more, but I want to say in this last summer, they shut down over 200 fires in San Diego County that were less than 10 acres, and that was all because, people reporting it, in my community, if I smell smoke, I see smoke, it's a nanosecond before I'm calling, right? Because I understand the impact on my community. I don't think everybody along the beach understands those. They see it, they're thinking, oh, everyone's having s'mores at the beach. No, that's not what we think.
It's amazing also to, I look at watch duty, which helps me keep track of fires. But it's actually amazing, the agencies, how quickly they get onto the fires. The air attack, a lot, when they're called in, how quickly they get on the fires. And these things don't spread very fast. So, the cooperation with the agencies and the communication is super. And it's really making a big difference.
I've lived in my house for 37 years. I'm old enough to remember when they didn't have communications, they didn't have equipment that would even talk to each other. That was a big step a couple sheriffs ago, putting that together. So hats off that you both work so closely together.
I'll see you in the back down there.
Hi, I live in a high brush area, and I keep getting canceled on my insurance, and now I'm up to $12,000. So I'm just wondering, is anyone aware of a program? The California Fair Plan, there's nothing fair about it. It's $4,000, then I still gotta go. Does anyone in this room know how to get coverage?
You can lower your brush issue by contacting your local fire safety council.
Firewise will give you a discount.
And that fire safety council there, it's a nonprofit group at each rural area has a group like that. And if you're having a funding issue, or if you're not sure the right tactics to use to minimize that brush.
I'm just saying also, like, you can go on, I try to tell the insurance agent, go on, Google Earth, you'll see I don't have brush, but they say I'm zoned. Do we have any input on how we're zoned, or is that strictly up to the insurance?
So, the short answer is there's very little out there to do with the insurance crisis, and it is a crisis that people can't get insurance. And they're gonna make insurance based on risk. The only thing that is currently out there in statute is the Firewise discount you get. What we do in CalFire is we determine hazard severity zones, high, very high, and we're required by the legislature to map all wildland areas in the state. But what's interesting about that is the insurance companies have their own proprietary software of how they rate your risk. And so, we could say you're in a low area, and they may not insure you because their fire modeling determines that you're in an unacceptable risk for the insurance. So I wish I had a better answer for you, but it's a really tough question that our state legislature has been grappling for years of how do we cover the losses. And I think last year one of the major insurers pulled completely out of California. So the only thing that's out there right now is, one of the brought up earlier, is there is a discount through Firewise, but the insurance prices just keep going up. And I don't see it there.
Depends on the insurance agency.
Well, if you're stuck with CalFire, and let's say you have State Farm.
We're just gonna go ahead and do one more question for this person. Oh, thank you.
Excuse me.
I'm Robin Maxon. I live in Ramona, but I also represent unincorporated areas in the Planning Group Association. The question that I receive quite a bit is concern over battery energy storage systems. I realize the county has put a temporary moratorium on new facilities, but what has advanced to control and protect life and property from the existing PESS if they do catch on fire? And we do have a wind event at the same time, which would be unfortunate. Thank you.
I'll pick one tonight. Battery BESS systems. So one of the things we're seeing on BESS is that we do not really see fires that spread beyond the energy storage facilities. These are new and emerging technology, and like most things, codes and ordinances are usually follow that. So we're going through the code adoption process right now for the 2026 Consolidated Fire Code. It's out right now. There is a new chapter from the state in there on dealing with battery energy storage systems and requiring them to be in compliance, with the NFPA standards and to conduct what they call large-scale fire testing on whatever specific battery that they're using. But we really have not seen them propagate beyond the best. They're subject to the same 100-foot dispensable space, and then on top of that, we require an additional 25 feet inside of the property line for the batteries. The other fundamental change that their industry is undergoing is, for the most part, they're not building vests in large warehouse-style buildings anymore. They're building them in shipping containers sites. So they're much smaller units.
Anyone has any additional questions, please see our constituent affairs table, which is on this side of the room. And now I would like to welcome Mr. Gabaldon from SDGE. He's the Senior Public Affairs Manager.
Good evening. Thank you, Joel, and these important community leaders who gathered to share the latest information. We're all focused on keeping the community safe. For SDGE as well, it's reliability as well. So we want to keep the lights on as much as possible. And I'm here to talk a little bit about our wildfire safety efforts, as well as PSPS, or Public Safety Power Shutoff Preparedness. So next slide. And one more. So from our meteorologist team, they put together a couple slides for us. Some of it is showing some of the weather, the moisture that we've had. You know, we're coming off of 2 or 3 years of extensive rain, and that did fabulous for keeping us in boots and in covered jackets and stuff like that. But that meant a lot of water going on in the vegetation, and that's really creating the risk that we're here to talk about tonight. Next slide. We have many areas that are still experiencing drought status. Last year it was pretty mellow, but we started to see for this year growing in terms of California. About 39% of the area is under some sort of drought watch. In terms of rain, this is what the NOAA NOAA has recommended and has found in their studies. But you can see in terms of overall outlook, it is still pretty low, below normal. And so this is a real concern as we come into these fall months. In terms of our fire season outlook, we're looking at a large potential up through September, but also for the rest of the year. And like Chief Mecham said, we're also focused on fuel moisture. And in turn, what the winds and the fuel moisture, humidity levels, that affects what we call the FPI, the Fire Protection Index. And it's a rating that we have for the communities that we serve. Next slide. We'll go into the next slide. You can see here in the upper right, this is our FPI that shows the ratings for different areas. Ramona is up the second row there. We can see in a traditional sense, when we start activating our Emergency Operations Center, we might be in the 14s or going into the 15s and 16s. And we're watching this weather 7 to 10 days out, looking at it develop. We're starting to gather some information, but our public safety power shutoff protocols involves a senior officer in a room with leaders from meteorology, from customer support, communications, all really focused on the communities. We build on that technology. We have about 220 weather stations in the communities that we serve. But we're also looking at the weather conditions reports, availability of fire resources. What do we have? Are there other challenges that we could be facing here? We also look for reports from emergency responders. As well, during the windy events, we will also deploy our field techs into the communities and giving live updates to our leadership team. So those are some of the factors that are involved in the decisions to make to shut off the power, but we do it only as a last resort. We want to keep the community safe. We want to keep the power on as long as possible. So this is a very important, critical decision that we don't take lightly. Next slide. So our process, again, I mentioned that we're looking 7 to 10 days out, tracking the weather, seeing how it develops, and we start looking at potential communities at risk. We're gathering that information, we're seeing forecast change, and we're trying to keep up with that as we start to look at which communities could be affected. That continues into days 2 and 3. We start looking at notifying our customers of opportunities to prepare. And I think tonight's theme about preparedness is key. This is probably one of the best windows to remember. As soon as you start hearing from the National Weather Service and they issue a red flag warning, there's a flag, right? That's just something to be aware of. Our notifications are also an opportunity for you to prepare. Fill up the gas tank. You have block ice, or what do you need in terms of your emergency plan to get ready? Go back one, I'm sorry. So as we get closer, again, these models, as the communities, as the weather event matures, then we're looking at a very narrow focus of the potential outage areas. But it's very dynamic. It's a dynamic situation, of course, and so we're trying to keep the notices going out, trying to keep power on as long as we can. But in the event that we have to turn off power, we're going to let our customers know again. So there's notifications, 48 hours, 24 hours, 1 day out, 12 day out. We will get you as much notices as we can do to help keep you informed. Before power gets restored, we're going to patrol those circuits. We have to get the eyes on this overhead infrastructure so that we make sure that during the wind event it wasn't damaged. There's no damage out there. And so these are some of the things that we're doing. You may say, oh, wind has died down in my area and I should be seeing services going. Well, we have to be able, in some cases, fly helicopters, and the wind speeds need to be down for that as well. When we pass through an event, after the patrols, we will let you know power's back on in case you went to another location and get out of the power down area. But we'll also let you know power's back on in your area. Next slide. Notifications are important. We have the ability to do text, voicemail, emails, and last week we did a part of our preparedness test, and we got a notification out to our customers in the region to let them know, hey, this is a test. If we needed to reach you, we want to make sure that everything is going well. But always, if you have an old landline in the house and you haven't registered your cell phone number, and you'd like to get a text or you'd like to get a phone call, you can go through our website, sdge.com/PSPS. And that is our website of public safety power shutoffs. You can find out more about notifications. We also collaborate with a number of partners, including 211 San Diego, American Red Cross. We're doing outreach in the media. We have a website, sdgetoday.com, where you can track these events as they go along. But our main website, sdge.com/PSPS, is really the starting point. It's a foundation to get information and to really dive deep into SDGE's preparedness efforts. Okay, next slide. So this is again, we talked a little bit about what we were doing for the preparedness side and what we were doing to monitor the event and where we're triggering. This is specific to our notification timelines for our customers. And you can see here, We are communicating out probably 2 days in advance before the event occurs. We're letting you know it could be coming. Then you're hearing National Weather Service if they're issuing a red flag warning. 1 day ahead, we'll send more notices, and our intent is not to overwhelm you. Our intent is to keep you aware. Where are we? How are things looking for your neighborhoods? But it's also use that first message to really prepare. Take that as just in case, hopefully there's no problems, right? But just in case, you want to make sure you're doing all that you can to be prepared. So again, we talked a little bit about the day of shutting off power. We're communicating, we're notifying our public safety partners as well. And again, as we go through these events, we may determine that there's a need to support the community in the community. We have, I believe it's 11 community resource centers. We're proud of our partnership with the County of San Diego. The branch library here is a CRC. Folks like Lori in the back are here with information during these activations, during the CRCs, to give you the latest information, to be able to charge your mobile devices, get some beverages, get more information. So again, you will hear from us when we open a CRC. And again, once we start patrolling those lines, making sure that they're ready to be energized, want to make sure that we get eyes on it. So that's an important piece before we're able to restore service. Okay. So the things that we realize that PSPS has a tremendous impact in the communities. We have many folks who live in these communities and tell us firsthand, but we have done extensive research and outreach over the years with our partners in the rural communities to better understand how this affects folks and what else could we be doing to mitigate those impacts. This is just a small list of the things that we do, whether it's the CRCs. We also work with our tribal partners to support their communities. We have 211 San Diego. If you know somebody who has a challenge and they're not sure where to go, have them start with 211s. It's a critical partnership, critical organization that really helps us keep people supported. That could include hotel stays, hotel vouchers. So. There's a blue envelope program. That's to help folks who may have anxiety over issues and someone knocking to the door, they can go. This is a program that the Sheriff's Office runs, and really powerful tool to support those communities of interest and need. Again, we have a partnership with FACT that can get people to a specific location. And again, this is all support coming in partnership with 211 San Diego. We're also working with American Red Cross, CERT groups to get the information out. We're so pleased that there is a team of volunteers, of nonprofits. We're all intent to support the communities that we serve, and it's great to see some of them here tonight. That's it. Any questions?
Can we go here first, please?
Yes, I hold the mic. Afraid. My name is Dave Shorey. I live in Julian. And the question I have is, I understand that SDGE contains a list of individuals who are need medical equipment. And in case of a power shutoff, that they can get support. I also understand that list cannot be shared with the Sheriff's Department or the Fire Department during emergency issues. And I'm wondering why that is, because in case of an emergency, some of those individuals will need extra help. We have people in the backcountry who don't have cell phone service, limited landline service, so it's very important that the first responders are aware of that information and can respond accordingly.
I think that's a great idea. There are some things that are being done today, but I think the opportunity there to try to further collaborate is important. What we are doing today on the SDGE side, we will send a communication out to all of our customers and say, say, be prepared or whatever. If the communication, the phone is not picked up by a medical baseline customer, then we will have a person call them direct. So you have the auto dialer calling, that doesn't make its way through, got a person calling, if that doesn't work, then we send a truck out there to make sure that person is on hand, that they haven't left, and if they are there, what sort of support we can get for them. We also partner with the Sheriff's Yana program, which is key to help keep the folks informed. But I think in terms of sharing information, obviously we want to do as much as we can. The state of California does have some very stringent privacy rules, and so we want to make sure that we're working on the best side of that while still making sure we're not creating problems. Joel.
Joe, can you expand on some of the programs that you have? I know that for some seniors you provide generators for people that have medical devices and they require electricity. You've set up other arrangements, whether it's a solar panel. Can you just perhaps tell my constituents how they can apply if they fall in the category?
Great. Yeah, thank you, Joel. Appreciate it. I planted in the audience here. Yeah, we do have a generator program. We're really excited about that. It includes rebates for folks looking to acquire them. Sometimes based on need, there could be an eligibility for full cost subsidization. Additionally, we provided batteries in the past and continue to look at what we can be doing to better serve residents of call them access and functional needs. It's also vulnerable populations. But we have a generator program that we're looking always to communicate with the folks who are impacted by PSPS, who may have medical baseline, and then of course ultimately if they are have an income qualifier as well. Thank you. Yes, sir. So I have a question regarding your PSP. Okay. So you only refer to customers. You know there's about 20,000 people that are not customers of yours that rely on your power. How do we know what's going on? Because you got to remember, a lot of places, even up in Julian, Ramona, there's RVs, there's cottages that have the central power. Yep. They're not customers of yours. So how do they find out about this? We We do have a program under that PSPS website that allows people to register, much like the sheriff's website, where you can plug in an address or an area, and you can get that. And so, you know, if I'm worried about a family member who is living in a rural community and is subject to that, living off, I might want to register for that. And that's the same thing for non-customers. Very good question. Thank you.
Thank you for all questions. I just want to make a quick reminder. Let's please
We
keep
have
our
another
questions.
person over here.
Yes, I will have more questions. Just as a reminder, please focus on the topics of the presentation for our subject matter experts today. And for any additional questions or concerns, please see our constituent affairs section here for being referred to the correct department. And we will take some more questions.
Just a comment?
We're doing the comments at the end, because some people still have questions. Once we get through all the questions, we're happy to take the comment. Do we have another question?
Yes.
Okay, he's coming around with the mic.
On your slide, you stated that inspected overhead power lines are done before you turn the power off. Can you give a status of where Ramona is on your underground power line project?
I don't have all the firm details of that. We'll have to make sure we follow up with you, but we have a strategic undergrounding project that undergrounds lines in the highest risk areas, like Ramona, like Julian, like Valley Center. And so these are intended to keep the lights on as long as possible. But we should know too, though, if we have these major events like we did in January, we might have to turn off the transmission lines, which could affect a community that was undergrounded. And so it's unfortunate, but again, the focus is safety. But I'll follow up with you and get more information about that. And I will be here all night until we've answered all the questions. even
In
after.
regards to this, in regards to what you mentioned,
Yes.
my understanding is that SDGE canceled the undergrounding that was expected for many areas in Ramona. Am I correct?
Yes, you're right. The reason being, we had gone to the Public Utilities Commission and asked for 600 miles of undergrounding. They only approved 150. So we're still continuing to look as undergrounding, a strategic undergrounding, as a very important tool to keep reliability, resilience in these communities. And we're not moving off of that. So some of the projects, yes, got canceled, but we remain interested in getting back to them as quickly as possible.
And how long do you anticipate that to take?
We have to work with the PUC.
Okay, so it's not happening. Thank you.
Joe, if I may. So, as crazy as it sounds, the PUC is very attentive. You can make an appointment to go. If they have a hearing, you can ask SDGE when they have that hearing, and you can go meet. I don't know who asked the question, so I'm just, no, but you can actually go. Before I was ever elected, I had an issue with a cell phone company, and I went to PUC along with 100 of my newfound friends. None of us knew each other till we got there, but we all had the same issue. I was shocked that the PUC Commissioner Peavy at the time actually was very interested. He had all of Southern California. So it wasn't, I was surprised that my little voice had, but most had influence, but most people don't show up to that meeting. And they can't get out ahead, they present, but they have to be approved. So, Joe, is there a way that you guys let me, I get it, but I'm an elected official, so I know that you send notices to us, but can the public sign up for any of the notices and things that they're interested in so that they can show up to the PUC? Because that will rock the PUC world.
We can definitely work on that. I know the PUC has a website on their.
And I think there's more questions for you, so sure you can hold it.
The PUC does have a website of its proceeding, but we can work on that and appreciate the great interest in that program. Very successful, so thank you. Another question?
If there's not another question, then we're going to go to comments. So if nobody else has a question, sir, you waited kindly. Can we get the mic to this young man? The other part is, you've been somewhat of an expert so far. Yeah, you are. You know a lot more than 90% of Ramonians and Board of Supervisors. What would be great is if you wouldn't mind sticking around a little longer to walk people through that program, because you clearly know a lot of it.
Absolutely. My comment is if you live in the backcountry and you don't have a backup generator, you're setting yourself up for heartache. I started out with a generator and a cord and getting gasoline from the gas station, and you find out real quickly that if Ramona's shut off, you gotta go down the Poway, and then you're running all over town to get gas and come back. I ended up with a propane generator. I don't worry about it now. So my word of caution or advice to anybody that lives in Ramona in the backcountry is get prepared now and get yourself a generator and get set up now, because the power is going to be shut off at some time in the future.
That's great advice. The other thing, Joe, I don't know if does SDGE ever give tours of the command center to the public, or is that just restricted to electeds and other serious inmates?
Yeah, we can talk about that.
I had the good fortune of touring their facility, and they have this command center, and they have the whole county up, and they also have, like, I don't know, every mile they've got like a little weather vane, and they know everything that's going on in the backcountry. It's really amazing, and they can show all the different wind patterns and temperatures, and it's truly amazing. But if you ever had an open or public day, I'd love to promote it in my district. I think most of my residents, if they had the time free, they'd love to come see it.
We can look at also a remote one, a mobile satellite one out here.
That'd be great.
Those tools, yeah.
The other thing, I'm sure you've all thought of this. Years ago, I bought a VCR, and after my first evacuation, I opened up every drawer in my house, and I walked through and I videotaped everything. Because my previous house, I had a total loss, and I couldn't remember all the things I needed. and my insurance company was terrific. But when I went to get a piece of a tool for my motorcycle, I realized I only used that torque wrench once every 5 years, and I didn't put it on my claim, and I had to buy it again with my own money twice. So now the beauty is I don't have to send my sister who lives down by the beach that video of what I've done. I can put it up in the cloud. So if you have the chance, go through your house, videotape everything you own. You've already done it. So
I was gonna say next week.
you're my first call before the sheriff on what to do.
Next week, SDGE is having a tour of their facility in Kearney, Maine, so we're talking about power shutoffs and stuff.
Joe, if you could send me that information, we'll send out an email. And if you're signed up for my email, we're happy to do it. Does anybody else have a comment? Oh, we have a lot of people. Go ahead, man. Just hand up and they'll come to you, and then we'll go over to you, sir, and then we'll head you back.
Okay, I got a generator, I actually got two, and I am on the medical baseline program. And when I submitted for the rebate, I was told they did not qualify.
Do you have Joe's card? We'll make sure you get Joe's card. You might want to give us a stack of cards. We have a gentleman over here that wanted to make a comment, and we'll go back to the back. You might want to walk around. Hey, focus on me. That gentleman, stay focused, please.
So you mentioned generators. So when is California going to allow us to buy generators that actually work in the state of California? Since they outlawed them as of January 1st.
Well, that sounds like a question for Ryan Jones, our state senator, who does a great job.
But how do you get generators?
Go to Lowe's.
Go to Arizona.
Buy them now before there's a need, because when there's a need,
Yeah,
there
but
aren't
you
any.
can't get them in California anymore.
Arizona.
Yeah, you can.
You know what? I have no idea. It's above our pay grade. There's a woman in the back, her hands up, and then we'll come back forward again. This is why we do the questions first, just so you all know.
Thank you very much. I wanted to go back to the Genesis Protect app. So I just wanted to share that we have that app, and not only do I have my home address, but I have it tracking me. So it knows I'm in Ramona right now. And if there's an evacuation notice for Ramona, I'm getting it. We went up to Atascadero at the end of July, and the day the Los Padres fire broke out, all of our phones were going off. Here we were visitors in a whole different county we would have never known. So we got that notification, then we started looking up SLO County. What's going on? How fast is it going? So if you don't have it, please get it, because it follows me and it keeps me safe wherever I'm at. Thanks.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Hands up for a comment? Yes, sir. Come on down.
I have a question for the fire chief.
Even better.
Hi. Talking about, I get in order of evacuation. What I do with dangerous items that can be dangerous with fire, like a 5-gallon tank of gas for my lawnmower, or a gas tank for my barbecue, or a fire pit I have outside. Firearms, ammunitions, stuff that what I do with them. In a house can complicate further the situation. In my car, if I take them with me, they complicate much more. What I do with those things before I leave.
So the greatest thing, we go back to that preparedness, is do your defensible space clearance around there. And if you have those items, propane cylinders, gas cans, those types of things, certainly a shed with gravel. And what I really encourage you is get a flammable liquids cabinet, right? One of the yellow cabinets that are somewhat fire resistant. Same thing with the ammunition, store that in some type of a gun safe. It's about the best protection. But there is a ton of flammables in your home. Your couch in your home will put off as much radiant heat as a gallon of gasoline burning. So the greatest thing to do is make sure that clearance and that they're stored is in as safe as location as you can on the property.
One more in the back down there. I know it's been waiting.
Okay, this is not a question, this is a, maybe it is. I'm Jim Robinson, I spent 20 years on the Ramona Water Board, and I retired from it. But one of the things we covered, I was on the ad hoc committee for the witch fire. Me and Doug Wilson stood up on the highlands up there off of Highland Valley Road, and looked back across the grasslands and everything. You could see exactly how the witch fire came through into Ramona and it roared through here. I didn't leave that whole fire. I was sitting down here in the water district office talking with the people from the state about getting the water turned back on that they wanted to turn on over backflow prevention. Okay, but anyway, what happened, when you stood there and looked at that, I was on the ag hoc committee, you could see how the fire came. All it would have had to do is vary a few degrees. And you know what would have happened? All those people that were stopped out there on 67 would have been barbecued. There's no way they could have outrun that. So for 30-something years, because I lived here over 50 years, 30-something years, we've been trying to get the state to build a 4-lane road up 67. There was no way. That's what was the cause of it. People were jammed up and everything was so bad they couldn't get out of that road. It was jammed up and everything. So, and you couldn't get the road over the Montecito, the rangeland has now been all taken out. You can't go through there like they at one time said we were gonna do and did nothing. But all the state does with our gasoline tax, instead of building a road that we should have, is they put up the more lipstick on the pig with these candy canes in the middle of the road and this other, and 2 big signs that don't do nothing for you, coming up and down the hill and everything, just things like that, instead of building what they were supposed to start building years ago. So I'm talking to our politician right there in front of you, that he mentioned Brian Jones. These are the people that need to put the pressure on somewhere so that that gas money is getting spent here and not someplace else on some, like this $20 million special election we're having here now to try to put us out in the more out of the way. So that's what I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I will have one of our constituent affairs coordinators speak with you as well. Just as a reminder, for any more questions or concerns, please see our constituent services table right here on the left side of the room from my side. I want to thank everyone for our presentations today. I thank everyone that is here in attendance today. I appreciate each and every one of you. Like I said, please see our partners for any resources needed in the back as well. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Who's here from the library? Raise your hand. Thank you so much. This is awesome, allowing us to use the room. My predecessor worked very hard for this library. I got the privilege of cutting the ribbon, but it was her hard work, Diane and Jacob, and they do a fantastic job up here. So thank you. Keep up the great work. We're very proud of you down at the county. Thank you all for coming. If you think of a question, my office is always available, and we'll refer you to the right person if they can't answer the question ourselves. Thank you all.